Hi beautiful souls, it's Tan here today talking about the 11th house in astrology. Wow, we've got this one and then one more house left and we're going to be done with that house series. So as usual, what planets do you have in the 11th house and what sign is ruling your 11th house? Leave them in the comments below and do share your experiences with us if you want to, because you know it's a whole learning experience that we're getting from each other on this channel. So from the 1st to the 10th house, we were working on ourselves, we were working on our relationships with other people. We have been recognized in the world in the 10th house. We're almost feeling full, like almost complete. Then we get to the 11th house. Now we are aspiring to be something that is greater than ourselves. We are looking to go beyond and have experiences of things that are greater than ourselves and to identify with those things. So, you know, all through the houses, there was a sense that we were kind of growing in our self-consciousness. Then when we get to the 11th house, now we are learning about group consciousness. You know, we really think to ourselves, you know, who am I in relation to this system? Who am I in relation to this group? You know, so if we look at this pillow, okay? Here's another one of my weird example, guys. Well, you know, you're just gonna have to tolerate my weird examples, but they do make sense. So this pillow, you see how the cover, okay, has been weaved. Okay, it doesn't look very good. There, you see? You have to weave. This is a weaving pillowcase. This is like the 11th house. This is like, okay, you are a piece of thread within this whole very complex labyrinth, you know, fabric system that we've got here. You are one piece of thread. And in the 11th house, we want to know who we are within this big system over here. You know, where do we fit in? Okay, so I'm just going to give you another example then. If we think about all the neurons in our brains, for example, the different neurons are working together, they're connected, but they have their own, you know, jobs. They are charged up differently. And two planets rule Aquarius, which rules the 11th house. So this house has a Saturnian side to it and a Uranian side to it. The Saturnian side of the 11th house is, like I said before, where do I fit in? How do I fit into this big, massive system? The Uranian side of it is the side that is aware that the whole is working together as a whole in synchronicity with one another. And that if one neuron were to get cut off and die off, a neuron maybe next to that one, or maybe a neuron at another part of the brain very far away, can even be affected by this dying or cut off neuron. It's like this thread. If I cut off one of the threads, okay, well, there's gonna be a hole, but you know, it's gonna start to get loose, and then maybe all the way down here, you know, the weaving is gonna become even more loose. And so that is the Uranian side of it, and the understanding that, you know, everything is working together. In terms of us as human beings, you know, this is the awareness that, you know, there's a field of consciousness that links each and every human being, and every being, maybe even in the whole, you know, world, in the whole cosmos, in the universe. There's a field of consciousness that links all of us together, and our awareness kind of spreads through this invisible organizing field, which is actually called a morphogenetic field. So, you know how sometimes when one person in, let's say, China has a sudden insight about something or sudden awareness about something, and then somebody else in Russia also has the same kind of sudden insight and awareness. They're not even related to each other, but because of this invisible organizing field, this morphogenetic field of consciousness, you know, consciousness spreads. That is the awareness of the 11th house. It is the fact that the biological behavior of a species that is being learned can influence another member of the species. So the evolution of one member of the species is gonna turn out to be an evolution of the whole entire species. So yes, this is the house of groups and friendships and organizations that we get into, and the planets that you have and the sign. So the planets that you have will show your position within groups. So if it's the sun, this person is gonna have to be a leader within groups. If it's Mercury, a spokesperson in groups. The sign that is ruling your 11th house is going to indicate the style and how people see you within groups. This house gives us a sense of brotherhood, sisterhood with the entire planet and maybe even the entire universe. So because of this high level of cosmic the awareness of cosmic consciousness of this group, we now strive to make the world a better place. We now strive for almost like a utopian world. So therefore, in order to make the current world a utopian world, we need to have a vision for the future. We need to envision the future and see the possibilities of things that could happen. So this house then becomes the house of our objectives, our hopes, our wishes, our goals, dreams. So therefore, the planets in the 11th house and the sign that rules the 11th house is also going to show how you go about trying to achieve your goals and dreams in your life. So as a quick summary, the 11th house is the house where we become aware of our need to be something that is greater than the self. So therefore, we start to look to groups and the society around us to figure that out, to find where we belong by understanding group consciousness. So this is also, groups such as friends and organizations. And with an awareness of group consciousness, now we have an idea about how we can make, the society better. We have an idea of a utopian world, and in order to achieve that utopian world, we build our visions and our hopes and our wishes and our objectives to get there. And so this house is our relatedness to the whole world and the universe even, but it's on a conscious level, which is different from the 12th house, which will be the next house video. Now I'm going to share a little bit with you my 11th house experience. So that's what we're doing here in this series. So I have my sun in the 11th house in the sign of Taurus, but this house is ruled by Aries in my chart. So my sun is in Taurus in the 11th house, but the house is ruled by Aries. So there's an Aries, Taurus, sun quality to my 11th house, but, now this is a big but. Yes, although my sun is in the 11th house, it's actually in an aspect of an opposition to my Pluto in Scorpio in the 5th house. So the sun rules Leo, and therefore it does not do well in Aquarius or Taurus. 11th house being Aquarius, my sun being in Taurus. Okay? And Pluto rules Scorpio. So my Pluto is in Scorpio. So this can be said that my sun is actually a pretty weak sun. It's not a very strong sun, making that opposition to Pluto. And I want to talk about this placement in terms of it being a sun opposite Pluto, 11th, 5th house. And this goes out to all of you out there who might also have a sun in hard aspect to Pluto, opposition, square, in conjunct, not the trident sextile or the conjunction, that's kind of different from this. But yeah, so naturally, sun being in the 11th house needs to gain a sense of self-confidence, self-esteem, and self-expression within groups of people that they belong to, and also within being able to achieve certain objectives in life. And that's very true for me. Ever since I was a child, I always have these wishes and hopes of things that I wanted to do, and they keep changing, and that's okay. So with Pluto being opposite the sun, or in hard aspects to the sun, I'm gonna kind of trace this back to childhood a little bit, because hard aspects from outer planets have to be traced back to childhood to really figure out the root of why they're so hard. The sun being the father figure. So my father, the sun being opposite Pluto, my father was a fearful kind of person in my life. There were a lot of things that he did when I was younger, like when I was really young, that really instilled in me a sense of fear of really going out there and doing things in the world, because the father figure is someone who is supposed to instill within all of us, especially for daughters. The father should be able to build up her self-esteem and self-confidence when she was younger, so that when she grows up, she's gonna value herself and she's gonna have a sense of self-confidence. But my father did not do that. As I grew up, there was always this kind of like, you know, fear of really expressing myself and exposing myself to the society and to the people that I'm with, and having a sense of self-confidence to pursue my hopes and wishes. That was something that was dark for me while I was growing up. It was like the sense of self-confidence and self-esteem wasn't there for Sun opposite Pluto people. We kind of have to overcompensate for that a little bit, and what we end up doing is we overcompensate for it by becoming overachievers in the world, acting like we are achieving so much, by acting like go-getters, you know. But the thing is that we're acting this way not really because we are really expressing ourselves. You know, we are just acting it because we're overcompensating. And if we don't act this way, then we lose our sense of self-esteem. But it's the action that is not authentic, you know, because if we can find the authentic expression, it might not be all that we hoped it would be. So there can be this sense of like, when I go out into the world and when I'm in my job, my career in this 11th house atmosphere, I'm like super confident, you know, I was a teacher and things like that. And I seemed really confident to a lot of people, and they really kind of like, my students really respected me and stuff like that. But then there was Pluto that's going on behind the scenes, you know? So even though people were like saying, oh, you know, like she seems really confident and stuff, but like inside, you know, there is always a nervousness. There is always a fear that I'm gonna do the wrong thing, or that I'm gonna, you know, say something and people are gonna just immediately lose their confidence in me. That's really Pluto opposite Sun. It's really weird, you know, and so it's almost like this perfectionistic image that I wanted to create in the world, in my work, in my 11th house area of life, to cover how much fear I have about really being myself. So, because oppositions are aspects of projection, I learned through relationships with people, through projecting the Sun opposite Pluto onto other people, I learned that, well, that's what I was doing in life. But you know, I learned this, I guess, in the relationships that I've been in, where there was a lot of power struggles going on, and the people that I was with were kind of, I felt, okay, this is a projection, I felt that they were taking advantage of me, and they were crossing the boundary and infringing on my self-esteem. But it's not, it's me that is trying so hard to appear a certain way and not having self-esteem within myself. But I was seeing that people were doing it to me, and then when I really figured this out, I went to therapy. Yeah, Aries and opposite Pluto. During a Pluto transit that I was having last year, I went to therapy, you know, to just talk it out and figure out what was going on in my childhood and why I'm acting this way. And that is because of some difficulties with my dad, which I have forgiven him for, and he is completely changed now, so all that's good. But anyways, after, you know, all this therapy, emotional purging phase that I was going through last year, it went on for a couple of months, and after that, it was gone. You know, this overcompensating was gone, and I became ready to just be myself in the world, just expose who I am to people in the world. And it's you know, it's not what I thought. I thought that if I were to really be myself, that people were gonna tear me down, very Plutonic. They were gonna tear me down. They were gonna say, ugh, you are a problem in the world and blah blah blah. But no, you know, people saw me as being strong all of a sudden. Like, she has managed to overcome, like Tan has managed to overcome a lot, and it's liberating almost. It's really liberating to just really be yourself and stop trying to have that sun overpowering that Pluto when the sun and the Pluto can just be together. You know what I mean? With a sun opposite Pluto like this, I'm someone who, maybe you can call me an antagonist, I don't know, but I'm really ready to tear down things that don't work anymore in my life, or things that are just not working in the society, anything as such, so that better things can come in. There's always, you know, Pluto is about transformation. There's always going to be a transformation in my identity, which is the sun. But yes, you know, just because I did some therapy and I went through emotional purging Pluto transit phase doesn't mean that it's completely over. I think that my life is gonna always be, sun is also your life path. My life is gonna always have this theme of being more confident, having more self-esteem every day, bit by bit, bit by bit. But at least I found the root of the issue. And after this, it's just about building those bricks, layer by layer. So guys, that's my take on the 11th house. If you have any planets in the 11th house, what's ruling your 11th house, what sign is ruling there, comment below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, then please hit the red subscribe button below to come along with us and our little astrology family on our journeys of self-growth and of having better relationships with people. If you've already subscribed, thank you very much to everyone who has subscribed and been coming along with me on these videos. Really appreciate it, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye!